Alrighty. I finished the main story. Right, mark there. That is credits. Bust out my thoughts, which I did write down some for. Just in the nick of time. Spider-Man be slacking in his duties. I mean, he just saved the world, you know. He's gotta take a vacation. I think the stream buffers for some reason, and it's pretty much stable. It's like 9 seconds of delay. That sounds like Twitch being Twitch. But all right. Supposedly we've got 40 minutes to talk about this game. I don't know if I can talk about it for that long. Just scrolling down, I don't think I got 40 minutes of stuff, but here we go. Spider-Man 2 has been conquered. Woot, woot. Well, I didn't write down my first impressions. My first impressions were I was having a lot of fun doing all kinds of the things, and that was fun. My thoughts on the ending here. Um, it was considerably more. Oh, you know what? I should hold on. Please stand by. The ending. I thought the ending would go in a different way, but I'm not. I'm not mad at the ending. I was just hoping for a little bit more oomph, I suppose. But it is what it is. For my overall thoughts, I enjoyed the game a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. It was fun. It did not. It wasn't without its stumbles. And if I were to just like comparing it to Miles Morales' game, I don't think it's stronger than that. But the highs in this game are so much higher than the Miles Morales game. For the original, I don't remember the original, but I think I like the story of the original more than this one. But again, I think the highs of the story in this one are really, really high. Um, and there's just some great moments. Let's see. For the story, was it satisfying? Uh, was the story satisfying? I'll give it. I'll give it a satisfying. There, there. The moments were cool. The stuff that was happening was cool. We got freaking Venom. We got presumably Green Goblin teased. We got Carnage teased, and probably some other villains that you know I did not catch or don't know. That's super cool. Did it feel complete? I would say it felt complete. Yes, yes. And how is the pacing? I think I have here the pacing really suffers because we jump back and forth between Peter and Miles' stories, and I still feel this way. Uh, I I'll get into this a little bit later, but um, I think the story could have used more cohesiveness, I suppose, and I just wish that um the like when swapping between Spider-Mans, it was not to go take on a brand new storyline or something like that, but it was to continue the same storyline. For example, like that final mission, like we were bouncing between Spider-Mans trying to accomplish the same goal and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, we never got into a scenario where we were fighting the same enemy and we would like change Spider-Mans in between like the fights and stuff. Really surprised that didn't happen. Yeah, this back. I don't remember what I had it at, so I'll just put it at 10. It was 10 something.
What do you want?
The Spider-Men. You know who they are, don't you?
Why?
They ruined my son.
Good. We all have to experience loss. Even you, Norman.
What are you writing?
The final chapter.
Okay. Back to reducing volume. So yeah. My thoughts on the story. I really like the story progression of Peter and Miles' stories, but I don't think I like them together. And this is probably the largest crux of my issue with this game, is that I think the stories individually are fun and exciting and tackle some nice things, but I don't think they work well in conjunction with each other, because there are some moments where you've reached a really awesome moment or just like a cool moment, and you take a break from that to go play as Miles, or Miles gonna go do cool or not cool school stuff, or you take a break from Miles when he might be doing something interesting and you swap to Peter and he's like, I'm gonna go tour this facility or something like that. You know, it's like huge tone shifts, and I could definitely do without that. Seems like I'm just gonna have to mute the audio on this anyways. And I said the pacing suffers because we jump back and forth between them. There's aspects that feel unimportant or don't drive the story forward, like the school mission with Miles, as an example. And I mentioned this during the playthrough as well, but I feel the utilization of Kraven is extremely disappointing. I've always pictured Kraven as someone who enjoys the thrill of hunting someone, but he doesn't hunt a single person in this game. He sends his unlimited number of soldiers to go round up someone and then fights them in a death match. Kraven is super smart and cunning, and none of that shows in my eyes. Yeah, so again, like I've touched on this before, but Kraven to me is someone who exhibits a lot of super intelligent qualities, and I just don't think that really shows the way that it should in this game. He like one of the ideal scenarios for me was like I'm hunting Kraven, and you know I'm trying to find out what he's doing or what his next target is, and then all of a sudden, like as I'm swinging through the city, he just ambushes me and all of a sudden I'm fighting Craven. Like, that seems like a Craven thing to do. He hunts people better than anyone else can hunt him. And I don't know, maybe my idea of Craven is just based off of nostalgia or something like that, and the old Spider-Man cartoons, and maybe I have Craven wrong. Who knows? But I just didn't like the usage of Craven, and they spent so much time with Craven in this game as well. I would have instead loved to see to actually let's see. I guess see him prowling the streets of New York, searching for worthy prey or laying traps. The idea of breaking Scorpion and Mr. Negative free so that he can hunt them in the city is so fascinating to me. But it just never turned out that way. It's no fun when we have to fight his minions constantly. That's another thing too. Um, I like at the beginning of the game, I was like, "Whoa! Like this is an interesting way to go about things." He knows who is worthy of the hunt, so he goes to break those people out of prison so that he can set them free on the city and then hunt them in their natural habitat. But it didn't work out that way. He's just like he breaks them free so that he could capture them so that he could have a steel cage match with them. And uh, it was it wasn't what I wanted. I also don't feel like he's properly portrayed in how dangerous he is. His tactics stayed the same, and there were rarely moments when he would learn something on his hunts and then apply it for his next encounter. So there were instances where he did apply knowledge and stuff like that. Like when Peter had the symbiote suit and he encountered the noise frequency thing. Like he applied that really quickly, and that definitely shows his intelligence and things like that. But he was never given opportunities to do that repeatedly, and we didn't get to see him do those things repeatedly. And I feel like that's that's the thrill of the hunt, is trying to find out what makes your enemies tick, and then exploiting those weaknesses and drawing your enemies out so that you can like defeat them satisfyingly, something like that. Yeah. The story also feels very stagnant when focusing on Craven. We're constantly chasing after people he's chasing, or trying to collect these small leads that become something bigger in a bad way. Coney Island Carnival is an example, or rescuing Tombstone. Yeah, I think we spend too much time is probably the best way to say it. Um, just not interacting with Craven in any meaningful way. Uh, there's there's too much time spent on the enemy types that are associated with him, which, by the way, he has a lot. There's just so many enemies that he has in the game, and it doesn't seem very Craven like to me. But whatever. We also spend a lot of time chasing after people who who he's hunting or has already captured, and like it's cool for a callback type of scenario where it's like, oh yeah, we get to meet Tombstone and who else? I think we saved someone else from him or something like that, but it wasn't time well spent. The Harry and symbiote storyline is definitely the strongest of them all and has the ultimate payoff. As much as I hate to say it, cutting Miles as a playable character to focus on building up the symbiote story feels like the right direction. This is crazy talk for me because I really like Miles Morales. He's the homie. But when I think of what to do in this game to have a better focus on the symbiote story, cutting Miles just feels like the proper way to go about it because like consider Miles's story in this game, in his arc. You know, he's helping Spider-Man, and then he's struggling with his hatred for Mr. Negative, and then he finally confronts Mr. Negative and overcomes that kind of hatred, and he doesn't forgive him, but he lets the hatred go. And that's basically his arc. His arc stops before the Venom reveal even happens. So it's I don't know. Like we could have gotten a Miles Morales 2. I instead. And obviously, you know, the Spider-Man games are very expensive and stuff like that, but you know, I we could have got a Miles Morales 2 for that story. The problem with Miles's storyline is that he's noticeably a B-side story. His focus on Mr. Negative and everything in between that pays off feels like filler. And that's kind of a harsh thing to say, but I feel like it's still true. Uh he his like when you compare the symbiote storyline and Peter's relationship with Harry and how that progresses and how it turns into the Venom arc, and you compare that to Miles's arc, like it may not even be a B storyline. It may just be like an F storyline or an E storyline or something like that, you know? Like it's so far down the priority list. Whereas the symbiote storyline gradually progresses to cool moments, both familiar and new. Harry coming out of the tank for the Emily May Foundation, his Spider Pal moments, Peter gaining the suit, and then gradually becoming evil Spider-Man, then the Venom sequence to climax it all. You know, like the the symbiote storyline was so expertly done. It was just so wonderful. And if you got rid of Miles Morales, it would have, at least playable Miles Morales, it would have flowed exquisitely. That sequence when Harry turns into Venom was so unbelievably cool. Very unexpected since I thought Venom would be in the next game or something. Yes. Also, the Carnage tease. I You know, I don't know why that hit me a lot harder than it should have, but it just did. The you know, like Carnage is, I think, top two villains for me in the Spider-Man universe. It's actually Venom and Carnage who hold those top two spots. So, you know, like it's for me it's just cool to do the Flame storyline, and like personally I wasn't very invested with it, and I even considered not doing it because some of the missions are a little annoying and the enemies are kind of annoying. But you know, I was like, you know, I'll keep doing them, you know. And I feel like this is one of those scenarios where the payoff for me was significantly higher than it probably would have been for someone else. Like, as an example, the spider bots payoff for collecting them all, that fell flat for me. But you know, the flame payoff was super, super high. So, very interesting dynamic there for, your familiarity with the Spider-Man universe. For the writing, I definitely want to call out the writing for this game because it's pretty freaking amazing. I love the silliness that happens and the little quips that each of the characters give. I love that they're just cracking jokes all the time. Even when like there's serious moments, it just feels so Spider-Man, and they nail it. So huge, huge, huge uh, shout out to the writing team. Y'all killed it. For the gameplay mechanics and design, what gameplay elements stand out? The podcasts with Jameson and Danica are great. I enjoyed listening to those. I'm a little sad that some of them got interrupted because I went to go do other things. Like, I wanted to listen to the podcast while doing other things, and sometimes you can't do that. So I wish there was like a checkbox that you could tick, and maybe there is, where you could prioritize the podcast before like over other types of dialogue so that they wouldn't get interrupted. I like the variety of side quests and missions. While plenty involve combat to some degree, there's some great switch ups like the minigames, drone chases, photos, and spider bots. Yeah, and they kind of like they kept sprinkling in um different types of objectives as well. And I also appreciate that. As someone who basically went through the start of the game and was trying to like I wanted to be given everything right away. I'm I'm kind of glad that it was a gradual thing, and like I was handling those objectives gradually because you can feel a little um overwhelmed, I suppose. And it's also kind of cool to reach a new like major story beat or arc in the story, and um and then have like new objectives show up. I do wish that not all of them, or I do wish that more of them weren't necessarily combat related, but it is what it is. Still never got to do the ninth Emily May Foundation thing. I'm hoping when I get back into the gameplay section after the credits, I can do that. Maybe it's like a post game thing or something. Let's see. I don't think I'm a fan of district progress. Fast travel being locked behind it, fog of war hiding side objective icons, and other elements associated with it don't promote exploration as much for me. Yeah. This is kind of another holdover from the Miles Morales game. I think the Miles Morales game did a lot of things that I liked. The entire map was basically just open, and you could see all the objectives and things like that, and you could just fast travel wherever you want to go and do whatever it is that you want to focus on. And there is a lot of places to go and whatnot, and I kind of liked that freedom. And I realize that I'm saying that right after I said, oh, I like that, these things are opening up later, but different game, different things are happening. Um, a lot of the end results for the side objectives didn't feel very rewarding for the time investment. Marco's Memories was extremely disappointing. Spider Bots probably went over my head, but I'll give it to the Prowler stashes. Marco's Memories was insanely disappointing. Uh, I you go through that whole sequence with Marco's Memories, and the end result is you give a crystal statue to his daughter, and by dropping it off in front of her door, and then she just opens the door, picks it up, and then walks back inside the house. That, I mean, maybe that one went over my head too. Maybe there was some sort of callback or something there that, felt important to the Spider-Man fandom. But for me, I was just like, I went through all of those things for that scene. That wasn't worth. Very disappointing. Let me see. Web slinging is still super fun, and I love the addition of gliding. Gliding, gliding didn't necessarily feel a lot faster than web slinging, but it felt good to glide. I do wish it like there's a lot of control that you have over gliding, but I do wish that it was like I wish you could stay in the air or like a straight line a little bit more than you could. Because just flying over the city and stuff like that, it's nice, but it's fine the way it is. I still enjoy it. I could have done without all the Mary Jane playable missions. When the Haley side quest felt, or where the Haley side quest felt really unique and special for that character, playing as Mary Jane is just downgrading the experience. It's not fun to spend so much time upgrading my characters to then be put in missions where I can't even use them. Unlike the Venom sequence, Mary Jane's portions feel forced and unnecessary. I still feel this way. I didn't like the Mary Jane missions in the first Spider-Man game, and I don't like them in this game. It just it's not fun to play as Mary Jane. It also, if you want to go that far, it really doesn't make any sense to be playing Mary Jane in these sequences. Uh, it just doesn't work for me. The actual gameplay portions of it, the story reasons for it, and just like the entire pacing of things, uh, it just doesn't work for me on any level. If they wanted to turn her into Spider Girl or um, Black Cat or uh, whatever other superheroes are out there, and she wanted to be a superhero, I'm all for it. But don't give me, Jane Schmo, and she has this gun, and she's shooting webs and sonic pulses out of it and stuff like that. It just doesn't fit for me. Um, Admittedly, a lot of the ability upgrades didn't feel very exciting. I think having a smaller tree where most or all the choices did cool things would be more ideal for me. I kind of feel the same way. I got to unlock, we'll say effectively, both Miles and like effectively, I unlocked everything that I wanted to unlock, but um, basically, like the shared tree, like the full center column and a fair chunk of the left column, just did not do it for me. I just wasn't interested in any of those things because they all felt so situational. But it is what it is. Whatever. The suit and gadget upgrades were a surprisingly successful feature for me. They aren't too crazy, and while the investment can feel like a lot, some offer some neat stuff. The choice nodes are also a nice idea. Yeah. Um, Suit upgrades. I wasn't expecting them to go that route, but like okay, I'll rock with it. The gadget upgrades. I I think I I think I started off not necessarily wanting them to go that route, but ended up liking it pretty well. It was it it was successful for me. I yeah. The amount of suits in the game is super cool, and there's even variants on a bunch of them. I do wish you didn't have to spend materials to acquire them, though, especially since suit tech and gadgets use the same materials. I, so, I I get from a designer perspective that you have this resource and you have an open world, and the goal is to have a player invest themselves into the open world and then um acquire a resource so that they can spend it on something to feel like they've earned that thing that they may have wanted, for some time. Like that's a feel good kind of thing. uh I just think that when it comes to the actual suits, it to me just wasn't necessary. I think that the reward of getting the suits, like, not everyone's gonna like every suit. Plus, you can only equip one suit. So having to spend resources to unlock them means that you're just going to leave a lot of suits unacquired because they probably won't fit the particular mood or play style that you want to go with. And if they just unlocked automatically, you might be more inclined to try out a suit, especially if those suits had particular quirks about them that you weren't able to um, uncover just by being on the menus. Let's see. For combat, in Miles Morales, I could regenerate health without having a full bar of the extra meter, and I wish that wasn't removed. Yeah, there were several moments of like holdouts for me, or maybe I guess holdouts from the Miles Morales game that like I was trying to do in this game and it just wasn't working out. And like I get why they go about it, but it just I wish it was the Miles Morales way. I also don't have this here, but I'm gonna say this. I I liked I, I think I liked the Miles Morales ability system in combat more than this game. I like that you had to choose between a powerful ability or healing or doing a finisher move. I think it offered a lot of um like dynamic choice making within combat, and I guess I liked that push and pull of, like, I don't need to heal right now, so I can spend this on my super move or I can do a finisher or something like that. And in this game, um I think what was less interesting for me was just having abilities on cooldown. It just wasn't as fun to use. And I like it was nice having more abilities and techs, like tech things to do, but um the the cooldown aspect just felt less satisfying, I suppose. I felt the enemy variety was lacking, especially when so much of the combat was hunter enemies. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see symbiote enemies at the end there because I was not expecting that. But yeah, I feel like this game is probably 80% hunter enemies. It may, maybe for my experience, maybe not in actuality for the game, but for my experience, it felt like 80% hunter enemies. And those enemies just weren't even that exciting or anything, you know? Um, I again, I wanted so much more from Craven's contribution to this game. The last thing for combat, while I ultimately like the additions of heavy and crush attacks, I do wish the indicators for them were significantly more clear. Sometimes there was just so much going on, and it's hard to react to those attacks correctly. Icons showing what is happening outside of the field of view would help a lot as well. Yeah, this was one issue that I've had is the crush attacks um, have like a like wavy circle that's blue, and the heavy attacks have more like a maybe a jagged circle that's yellow and then turns red. And like when you're fighting a bunch of enemies and things like that, and there's things being thrown around, there's projectiles going, there's particles and whatnot. Noticing like those cues and reacting to them is not very easy. Uh, at least for me, anyways. I had a lot of difficulties um, properly reacting to, oh, I need to dodge this, or oh, I need to parry this. Thankfully, in terms of parrying, it was pretty forgiving, but I wish one of them was like a triangle and the other one was a circle or a square or a rectangle or something like that, Make them significantly more distinct. This is a lot of images from Getty Images and Shutterstock and all that other stuff. It's crazy. It's even more crazy to me that they're including all of this in the credits. I don't think there's any cardinal sins for this game. You could potentially say main story missions are side quests, but I wouldn't rock with that. And there's no side quests that are required to start the main story. You just have to wait, which, I'm okay with, just move around the city. Maybe you'll go do a side quest or whatever, but that's fine. For miscellaneous sound and music, music was it seemed fitting for a lot of the moments. I definitely liked the more hip hop drone or not drone, hip hop beat moments a lot, but a lot of the like orchestral music also seemed to fit things. I've been curious about listening to the soundtrack. I don't think it'll be successful for me, but I'm curious about it. I might get around to it. For the voice acting, I thought the voice acting was fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. Every character knocked it out of the park.
Haley, hi. I hope you're hungry. Food's almost ready. Why don't you go show her your essay? You worked so hard on it.
Thanks, Mom. I'll go show her my essay. 500 words.
Some guy in Harlem. Probably seen him volunteering in the city, helping out his city council mom, and trying to live up to his hero dad. Yeah. Yeah.
It's possible Mom knew sign language already. Yeah, we never got to meet the mystery man. Is this the time? Who's it gonna be?
Hi. Miles, Haley, this is Albert.
Hi, nice to meet you. Oh, and this is my daughter, Cindy.
I don't know who Cindy is, but that was probably important. All right. As a matter of fact, let's find out who Cindy is. Albert and Cindy Marvel. Cindy Moon. Go to Marvel. Cindy Moon is Silk, empowered by an irradiated spider bite. Oh boy. And hidden in a bunker for a decade, Silk emerges as a superhero ready to fight crime and take back her life. She has no stats higher than a 4 on the Marvel website. She takes the codename Silk and becomes a crime-fighting spider hero replete with outdated references and flip phone. Nice. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Where was I? Graphics. I thought the graphics looked great. I was on performance mode and there was only a couple of small little hitches that came up. But, you know, other than that, like, and even those were minor. So, you know, nice, nice. For other, if it's a sequel, does it achieve more of the same? I would say so. I think I think this game did a pretty good job. Pretty good job. This game worth recommending? Absolutely. I recommend this game. It's so much fun. If the developer is watching, so I'm gonna say blasphemy again, but it's what I truly believe is that if this game was just the symbiote storyline and Miles was just a satellite character that you couldn't play, that, you know, was helping out here and there, I think this would have far exceeded the first game and the Miles Morales game. In terms of like story and narrative progression and like character development, I just feel like there would have been nothing to get in the way of that. And I'm hoping that if there is another Spider-Man game down the line, that if we're going to have multiple characters that we can swap between and play, that either their stories are standalone stories so that we get to experience awesome stories on their own separately, or there is one continuous narrative that every character is involved with, and all of their stories and pathways are intertwined with that single narrative. And granted, like you can kind of say that that's how it is here, but I just don't think it converged enough. You know, like the Mr. Negative thing, like sure, he came back and you know, put the capstone on things for Peter and whatnot, but I want it like from start to finish, rather than they start doing their own separate things and eventually converge once or twice and then diverge again and then converge, you know, stuff like that. And do I want a sequel? Absolutely. Bring the sequel. I will play it. Great. That's my thoughts. I am gonna mark here, and we're gonna see if there's anything to do after I unpause the game.